My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm 26 years old, and I live in Manchester, in a narrow apartment building squeezed between a takeaway shop and a closed-down laundromat. The walls are thin, the stairs always smell faintly of damp concrete, and the elevator hasn't worked in years. I don't hate this place, but I don't love it either. For a long time, it felt like a temporary stop. The problem is, temporary can quietly turn into permanent when you stop paying attention. I grew up in a working-class family. Not poor, not comfortable. Somewhere in between, where money wasn't talked about directly but was always present in decisions. My father worked long shifts driving delivery trucks. My mother cleaned offices at night. They never complained in front of me, but I noticed the tiredness in their faces, the way weekends were used to recover instead of rest. From a young age, I promised myself I wouldn't live like that. I wanted an easier life. What I didn't realize was that easy without discipline becomes fragile. At school, I wasn't a bad student. Teachers described me as capable but inconsistent. That phrase followed me for years. Capable but inconsistent. I could focus when something interested me, but the moment it became routine, I drifted. Deadlines were flexible in my mind. Consequences always felt far away. I passed exams not because I worked hard, but because I worked just enough. College was more of the same. I chose a general business program, not out of passion, but because it sounded safe. I imagined doors opening simply because I had a degree. I didn't build skills deeply. I didn't network. I didn't think long-term. I believed life would sort itself out as long as I avoided major mistakes. After graduation, reality arrived quietly. No offers, no clear path, just silence. I took the first job that answered my application, a warehouse position through an agency. Temporary, they said. Flexible. That word again. Flexible felt comforting. It meant no commitment, no pressure. I told myself it was a stepping stone. Over the next 2 years, I moved through jobs the way some people move through TV shows, never finishing a season, never fully invested. Retail assistant, delivery driver, call center, office temp. Each time the pattern repeated. Strong start. Decent first impression, then small slips, late mornings, missed emails, half-finished tasks. Nothing dramatic, nothing that screamed failure, just enough to slowly lower expectations. The job that mattered most didn't look special at first. A small logistics office run by a man named Colin. He was in his late 40s, calm, organized, not the type to raise his voice. The office handled scheduling and coordination for local suppliers. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. Regular hours, clear responsibilities, a chance to build something. Colin hired me after a short interview. He didn't ask many questions about my past. He seemed more interested in whether I could learn and whether I would show up. I said yes to everything. I meant it too, at least at the time. The first few months went well. I learned the systems quickly. I answered phones politely. I stayed late when needed. Colin trusted me with more tasks. He once told me, "You're reliable." That word felt good. It felt earned. Then comfort crept in. I started staying up later. One night turned into many. I told myself I worked better tired. I started hitting snooze. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I was still on time, barely. When I was late the first time, I apologized. Colin nodded. No lecture. The second time, I blamed public transport. The third time, I shrugged it off internally. I was still doing my job, wasn't I? That's how I justified it. What I didn't see was the shift in how people interacted with me. Instructions became more detailed. Deadlines came with reminders. Trust was quietly shrinking. The turning point wasn't a disaster. It was ordinary. That's what makes it painful to remember. There was an important shipment scheduled for early morning. Colin asked me specifically to be there early to help coordinate. I agreed without hesitation. The night before, a friend invited me over. I hesitated, then went anyway. One drink turned into several. I told myself I'd wake up early. I always did. Except that morning, I didn't. I woke up to my phone vibrating, missed calls, messages. My stomach dropped. I rushed out, skipped breakfast, ran for the bus. When I arrived, the office was already busy. Someone else was doing my job. No one looked angry. No one confronted me. Colin glanced up, nodded once, and went back to work. That silence stayed with me longer than any argument would have. Nothing happened that day or the next, but things changed. I wasn't assigned critical tasks anymore. My hours were adjusted. Eventually, my contract ended.
Colin said it wasn't personal. He said they needed someone more consistent. I wanted to argue. I wanted to explain. But there was nothing to explain. He was right. Losing that job didn't feel like hitting rock bottom. It felt like slowly sinking into water you didn't notice was rising. I told myself I'd find something better. I took time off. Days blurred. Applications were started and abandoned. Rejections came in quietly, politely. Money became tight. I cut expenses, skipped meals sometimes, avoided social events. Pride kept me from asking for help. My parents called. I kept answers short. "I'm figuring things out," I said. I hated how empty that sounded. The hardest part wasn't being unemployed. It was realizing I didn't trust myself anymore. I knew how I behaved when no one was watching. I knew how easily I slipped. That knowledge was heavy. One evening, sitting alone in my apartment, I looked around and felt a kind of stillness that scared me. No crisis, no urgency, just stagnation. That's when it hit me. Nothing was going to change unless I changed something uncomfortable. I took a job at a manufacturing workshop outside the city. Early mornings, strict rules, physical work. The supervisor didn't care about my degree. He cared if I was there at 6:30 a.m. every day. The first weeks were exhausting. My body hurt. My ego hurt more. I was surrounded by people who didn't talk about dreams. They talked about showing up, about doing the work, about getting through the day.
Something shifted, slowly. I started preparing the night before, setting alarms, going to bed earlier. Simple habits, boring habits, but they worked. I wasn't late. I wasn't special. I was consistent. Months passed. People noticed, not with praise, but with trust. I was given responsibility, small things at first, then more. I didn't become successful overnight. I didn't escape struggle, but I rebuilt something I hadn't realized I'd lost: self-respect. Today, my life isn't impressive. I still live in that apartment. I still work hard. But I understand something now that I didn't before. Stability isn't given. It's earned daily, through choices no one applauds. This story isn't about failure. It's about neglect, about how small decisions stack up, about how waiting for motivation is a trap. Most people don't ruin their lives dramatically. They let them drift. I almost did.